God. Today on Chicago Public Access Radio.
Thank you for calling Star Wars Forum.
Beep, boop, beep, bitches. Wookiee. Did you know that is a term? Somebody recently told me out here in Colorado that the term Wookiee or Wook is it's a term for your kind of unkept hippie, the one with the dreads and the stink. It's just
I know who told you that.
Yes, you do, right? He called him a Wook, and I said, "A what?" And he's a Wook, a Wookiee.
So a Wook.
Explain it. As soon as he explained it, I was like, "Oh yeah, it makes perfect sense."
I use that as a term for a severely unkempt vagina.
Oh God!
Oh, Wook, that makes sense. Yeah,
Dear
that
God,
makes sense.
no. Bitch was hiding a Wookiee in her shorts.
Just pulls down her panties. Holy shit! Get away from me!
No, it's fine. It's fine, bro. It's fine.
I mean, when it's like I'm okay up until if a lady pulls her pants down and it looks like a Duck Dynasty beard, then we got issues.
Okay,
if it's got braids and beads in it, like she walked,
that'd be okay. That'd be actually kind of cool. So, Viking pussy. If you don't name the podcast Viking Pussy,
I don't think I can. I don't think I can.
The Wookiee? How about the Wookiee?
Or the Wookiee.
Okay.
The Wookiee would work, right?
Jesus Christ, this is not what we intended to talk about.
Yo, we out here freestyling. But okay, because you said women, right? So there's this expectation that a woman is going to shave her shit and look like a 10-year-old.
No, I'm not into that.
I have no problems with the shaved pussy, not the 10-year-old. What was it? Disclaimer. I am not endorsing having sex with 10-year-olds.
Let me mark this part of the podcast.
Delete that part out. So there's this expectation that a woman is supposed to shave her stuff and be clean, right? Which it does make certain activities a lot more enjoyable. But if you're in a relationship or you're with a woman or going to have sex with somebody, do you at least trim your junk?
Yeah. I think everybody does.
I do.
I think the hesitation tells me otherwise.
Well, I didn't realize if that was aimed at us or the audience. If it was a hypothetical.
Your mom and like one other random dude who thinks this is a different podcast than it is. I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right.
Trims her bush, to be completely honest with you, Adam.
Yeah, that'd be kind of weird.
Find something out that you didn't want to know.
If somebody was looking for the good place stuff and then stumbles across this, that's going to be a rude awakening for somebody.
You never know, man. They might be like kink. They might discover something they didn't know they actually liked. I'm just saying.
Welcome to the Kink Castle podcast.
Kink Castle podcast. www. But yeah, I mean, I think if we're going to expect women to do it, you've got to reciprocate. Right? I do, because I can't imagine they won't. Well, plus there's nothing worse in the middle of a blowjob and some chick goes,
yeah, because that's what you want to hear. And
hold on.
And I never understood the fascination with, since we're on the subject, I never understood the fascination with a chick letting out a gagging noise. I mean, because the last thing I want to think is my dick makes you sick. That is not a fucking turn on.
Well,
it's a power thing, Doug. It's a power thing, and don't hate. All right, don't hate. It's perfectly natural,
right? Don't kink shame me. Well, what about a chick that gags when she brushes her teeth but doesn't when she goes down on you? What's that say about you? You're hung like a fucking Oral B. I mean, what are we going with here? So I'm not going to explain why that popped in my head for any reason, but just saying.
Hey, it's okay, Dan. It's all right.
Also, not a fan of the glurt noise.
Glurt.
Glurt. Yeah, fuck that.
Where the fuck did this podcast go?
Oh, it went off the rails.
We had
Rails
like
over
7
there.
topics, and none of them
None
were.
of them are this. None of them are violent oral sex noises. So,
I mean, have you ever heard a woman is anywhere say the phrase, "I love it when a van goes down on me," and makes this I'm almost about to vomit noise. I mean, women will use scented flavored douches. Because I don't think anybody wants to go down there and feel like they shoved their face in a fish market that's been shut down for 3
I
days.
have never ever smelled a vagina that smelled like fish. Sour wash rag. Yes.
Oh, you haven't? You
Sweat.
haven't?
Yes. But fish, no. Maybe I don't. Maybe in my brain it just doesn't correlate the two. But yeah, I've heard
You
that.
just gotta. All right. Yeah. If you just date a pescatarian long enough.
I don't know what that word is. You're gonna have to help me out with that.
It's a vegetarian, but they only eat fish for their meat.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, that makes the joke less funny that I had to explain it.
It does. Yeah, I apologize.
Sorry,
Now,
Dan doesn't understand big words.
Big words frighten me. I like lots of little words. It's like junk food for the brain. So, all right.
And
good.
And
very, very. The day was very, 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 very hot. How many words do I need for this essay?
Do you guys want a fun fact?
Always want a fun fact.
Spit it out.
Narcolepsy is actually an autoimmune disorder.
Huh.
Interesting. I did not know
the
that.
antibodies for streptococcus attack the brain and destroy this thing called hypocretin that regulates sleep.
Weird.
Fun fact.
Wow.
Science is fucking cool. No, bro. No.
No, dude, you're wrong because I'm not wearing a fucking mask, dude. I'm not wearing a mask. No,
I'm not wearing a mask. That's where narcolepsy comes from in Democrats. Libtards. What?
Bernie Sanders created narcolepsy.
Look at us segueing. Fuck
And
yeah.
speaking of which,
Speaking of masks.
How did a fucking mask become political?
Because everything's political now.
Well, see, the weird thing about it is, and I've heard this from a couple of people. They'll acknowledge the fact that masks are valuable in disease prevention, but then there's this weird edge to it. But I don't want the government telling me what to do. I can make my own decisions. Now, how in the hell do you tie a political argument to something that you know the value of in the current climate of, okay, you're all going to fucking die, or, and especially like with schools going back in, because it's like everybody that I know, if you're in a work environment and you know that somebody's got school age kids, it's only common sense that like those motherfuckers come in sick all the goddamn time.
Goddamn little vector toddlers. Yeah.
And people are just fucking going crazy. Oh, we have to have schools back in session. That's a fucking petri dish of an environment.
Yeah.
I mean, you might as well let your kid, the way things are right now, you might as well let them go swim in a sewage pond and go give you a fucking hug and kiss.
So let me correlate something for you that I feel like I have seen. Okay. The same people that are very anti-mask, government's not going to tell me what to do. And by no means, I love when people want to tell me, well, you're a sheep, whatever, okay, think what you want to think. But I think the people that, what I have correlated is that people who are very anti-mask as far as the government portion of it are also typically very big Trump supporters, right? And since Trump is pushing his narrative, the other day I saw something that said some little meme about him being reelected and 4 more years of liberal tears. And that really drove home exactly how I think he gains his supporters. There are all of these angry fucking people out there who have pointed their anger at liberals and the what they think they believe in. And the idea of punishing them or hurting them or watching them suffer amuses them. They think it's funny. This is great that all of these liberals that I don't agree with are suffering, but they're suffering at the cost of what I believe is the integrity of the United States. But you don't see that. You don't want to see that because those liberals are suffering. And the mask, yeah, if you were about to have surgery and dude came in and didn't wash his hands or wear a mask, you want to let him dig around inside your fucking guts? I sure as hell don't. I'd be like, bro, get your mask on. There's too much data out there that shows that masks help. I've seen memes and indications that this is that the mask is symbolic to uh, mute you, so that symbolic of taking away your right to speak and have expressions, and that it's the training wheels for Sharia law. Right. I've seen so many where there's a chick in a mask right here, and it says this leads to this, and then there's a chick in a burqa or the other one, and I love a good conspiracy. I'm not a Fed fan. I'm a defund the cops guy. I'm a Second Amendment guy, but I wear a mask because I'm also an intelligent human being and I understand how viruses work. Yes.
I think it comes from a misunderstanding that masks only protect the person wearing them. And there's a belief that I actually agree with, that the government shouldn't protect you from hurting yourself.
And I do agree with you on that, right? But you're right. It's a misconception because the mask is about you expelling some kind of fluid, some spit from your mouth, some sneeze, juice, whatever, and getting it on someone else. So at some point, does the government have the responsibility to protect its people in general?
Yeah, right? And they should be able to keep you from hurting other people.
Right.
I believe that because that's what law is for.
Right.
That's why I don't really agree with the war on drugs, because all it does is keep you from harming yourself, which is, in my opinion, you're right if you want to do it.
It absolutely is. A lot of the argument to that is, well, all the drug cartels and all that. Well, if you made, by making, pot legal out in Colorado, you took that away from a lot of the nefarious folks that were selling it in a back alley or, pulling deals out of the trunk of a car. Now you go to a store and it's regulated and who's doing what. So you're absolutely right. And it's that misconception. And the problem is that people just refuse to change their narrative, or they refuse to change their opinion on things because I feel like those people somewhere in their life have had someone that when they were wrong and tried to change their mind, somebody wouldn't shut the fuck up about them being wrong. Oh, you're wrong, dude. You're wrong. You were wrong about that one thing, that one fucking time. So you're never right again. I feel like that's kind of how they go after Fauci right now in the WHO and CDC, that, well, they did say this and now they're saying that, so they're wrong. Why should we believe them? Because that's science, dude. Science starts with the facts that are presented. You make a theory, a hypothesis on it, and then you prove that out one way or the other. So as this thing has been studied and tested, it was not just a few weeks back, they were saying it didn't produce antibodies in people. And that was kind of a scary thing for someone who has half a brain, me. Fuck, if you can't produce antibodies with it, how the hell are you going to make a vaccine? But then you've got these companies, AstraZeneca and Moderna, whatever. They're getting ready to go into phase 2 testing, and they've had great success in producing antibodies. I mean, that's a good thing. So if you took that information, then between now, my other favorite meme is the one going around that says, requiring masks 5 or 6 months into a pandemic is like handing out condoms at a baby shower. And I'm not even sure how anyone can fucking equate that and make any sense of it.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense to me.
Makes total sense
We should have required masks first, but we didn't. That's not a reason to not require
to do it now. Kind of like seatbelts. I mean, we didn't have seatbelts, from like 1920 to what, 1960, I think.
That's the way we've always done it. Fuck it. Just don't ever require them ever again. Fuck
Right.
it,
I
dude.
mean, data is proving that they work, but why use them? And personally, I think giving out condoms at a baby shower is a great idea because you can point to the person and say, "Do you want that? Is that what you
Pretty
want?"
funny. That
Well,
would
that's
actually
what
be
you
pretty
want.
funny.
It's and it's that kind of stuff that I see. I'm a wear a mask in shared environments. I wonder when I walk my dog and I'm not wearing a mask and I see people go by if they're like, "Fuck that guy. He's probably a Republican." It's like, no, I'm outside. I don't feel. Again, I'm not an epidemiologist, but I know a thing or two.
Well, I'm wearing them anyway. I've seen some stories recently where they've been doing studies, and as specifically as it related to masks.
Mm-hmm.
And what they presented was two people. One of them has the virus, and you don't know who it is. And if neither of them had on masks in a shared environment, the transmission rate was high. Now, if one of them, just one, had on a mask, it cut the risk in half. If both of them had on masks, it was a very, very low risk. So I don't understand why that is political. And, I don't always wear a mask when I walk my dog, but oftentimes I do. And it's just because when I'm walking, sometimes we'll have people walking the other direction. And yes, we're outside. Yes, that exposure is brief. But as much as I can mitigate my risk, I'm 47 years old now.
Yeah.
Damn, you're old.
Or 46, 47, something like that.
As I get closer, I start saying 45.
But regardless, to go back to your earlier point, people have been for years, as long as I can remember, and especially as this relates to politics, they'll have someone that changes their opinion on a subject, regardless of whether they change their opinion on the subject because they got a big, huge donation from a political action committee or they were presented with new facts.
Flippity floppity.
Yeah, and people would turn around and call them flip-floppers because, according to some of these same people, some of them are supposed to adopt a position and stick on that for the rest of their life, apparently. But, a shoe?
I just wanted to show you that I'm not a flip-flopper.
Oh,
okay. Adam's showing us his shoes. But I think that goes, honestly, I think that kind of calls back to, for me, and, I know I'm a religion hater. Anybody who knows me on an intimate level knows that I am totally anti-religion. If it's working for you, I'm not going to bag on you at every opportunity that I get. I'm not that guy where I'm going to turn around and take this thing that I disapprove of and consistently beat you over the head with it. If it works for you, that's fucking great. But I think that's, beliefs are a lot of the problems that we have, especially when it comes to politics, how we address issues in society, because you get people that they develop this belief and they hang on to it as a core value. And once somebody has a belief, it is very, 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 very hard to undo that belief.
Well, you can't undo a belief with facts because it's not based in fact.
All right. Beliefs are based in blind faith a lot of times.
Yeah. And literally, I have heard all my life, walk by faith and not by sight. And that is the stupidest fucking shit I've ever heard in my life.
Well, if
close your eyes and
masses,
walk down this flight of stairs.
Right? God will protect you. And then on the same side, they say, well, God gave you eyes. You should have used them. You can't win. And you say that and it actually brings up a good point, right? A lot of your conservatives, what do you say? You're white conservative Christians, okay? And then you get on the liberal side, you've got a lot of the LGBTQ stuff, a lot of the gender fluid stuff, and that not only annoys them, but it goes against their faith, it goes against their God, it goes against their religion, and so they deem it almost demonic or satanic or whatever.
Right. And I've even known people that were raised up in that environment that totally rejected those beliefs, but because they were still sort of semi-indoctrinated in that shit and raised up in it, they've still held on to some of that same belief system, even though they may have abandoned God or what have you. It's like they don't like gay people, period. Any fluid, any whatever.
Because it just ain't right.
It just ain't right.
It ain't right. Well, you could argue that it's not natural in the sense that, Darwinism or natural selection, if you had a creature that only practiced homosexuality, it wouldn't have lasted long. You gotta procreate.
But conservatives will say it's not natural and then go eat McDonald's and drive a car and stuff that's not natural.
But God gave us all those things.
God gave us gays too.
No, that's different because it just is.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize there was such an explanation.
I'm going to start my own religion, and that's going to be my tagline. It just
is.
And when people are like, "I don't understand that," be like, "Hey, it just is." All right.
It just is. All right. Now give me $200.
The whole coronavirus thing being politicized is what has agitated me so bad, and I always talk on the podcast and to you guys about trying to stay neutral about things and up the middle, because I think life is just way too complicated to be left or right. And I try to let people, like Doug said with religion, I'm not a big fan of religion either. I think it's got a lot of problems, but I let people do their thing because it's none of my fucking business, first of all, as long as you don't bring it to my doorstep. But it's your thing. Do it, right? But I expect you to do the same. Let people just live their lives. And a lot of people have a hard time with that, but I have been real cool about all of the garbage that I've seen, like on social media, both directions, right? Bashing conservatives, bashing liberals, the masks, whatever. Shut it all down, and we should just bury ourselves under our houses for 2 years until this is done. And you got, like, I saw a text the other day, or a tweet the other day that was attributed to Alyssa Milano, and she's like, "We need a national shutdown. We need to just print money and give it to people." And I'm like, oh God, the dumb.
That makes money worth so much,
right? Because more of things make it more valuable, right? We all know that.
That's how that works.
Yeah, we'll be walking around with our fucking Zimbabwean dollars. Where that was one of they had this particular competition to where they literally celebrated basically bad science. That they would come up with these really fucked up things like a baby catapult, or all of this other shit. And if they came up with the most ludicrous thing, they would give them an award and 1 million Zimbabwean dollars, which was worth about $10. So they would be a Zimbabwean millionaire.
Hell yeah.
Worth it.
Well, I've actually gotten to the point where I am removing my relationships with people that have gone over the fucking edge. And I've never been like that in the past. I would just ignore them, whatever. But I realize that I just can't anymore. Yeah. I can't ignore these people anymore. I can't do it. It's the dumb that they're spewing has gone beyond my threshold of acceptance. If people want to spit it out, fine, but I don't want to be around you. I don't want to talk to you.
Well, it's a little bit different because it's one thing when somebody has an uninformed opinion and, you can try to talk to them, whatever, but they're not weird about it. The thing that is really popped out, and I would say especially since Trump has become president, is people will openly display the fact that they're dumb and be so fucking proud of it.
I was hoping you'd use that word.
And it's like, there's gay pride, there's black pride. I think dumb pride has become a thing. I'm a fucking moron, and I'm fucking proud of it because I'm an American. And then that's how they finish it off. They turn around and take that dumb. They're proud of it, and then they fucking wrap an American flag around it and act like it's goddamn patriotic.
I was going to say they wrap it in this patriotism, and what I've seen is not patriotism, right? Patriotism would be everybody wearing masks to protect people that can't protect themselves, who are immunocompromised. Well, those motherfuckers should just stay in their house and whatever and blah, blah. Dude, I was all about reopening the economy. I've been about it since the beginning. All I asked is that wear a mask when you go to the store, right? Wear a mask if you're going to go to dinner. Well, I've got health issues. Dude, I've got asthma and chronic bronchitis that I developed after a very COVID-like disease back in 2013. I can wear a mask into the store, right? And I haven't fallen over dead. My blood ox level hasn't dropped, whatever.
I think the science denying is just leftovers of the energy industry and the tobacco industry lobbying so fucking hard to deny what scientists have said, and all the conservatives bought it.
That's a good point. It affected their wallets, right?
I think there's just a tradition of denying science on the conservative side because of all the money that they dumped into it.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably onto something about that, right? Just there's a lot of products out there. Look at your big like Monsanto's and companies that have been dumping chemicals and
Monsanto's only doing good things.
Doing good things. Hold on, I got to clear my fucking sarcasm filter on my computer. Yeah. I mean, you're probably right. And the thing is that any story, if you concentrate hard enough on one abstract fact or one thing that may have been misquoted or something, if you concentrate on that hard enough, you can kind of tear down any story, any narrative, any proof. You can tear it down. The dumb pride has masked of patriotism has blown my mind lately, and I have on many occasions compared it to nationalism, which for those of you who don't know, the German word for that I believe is Nazi, or some derivative of that. And
just blindly following the state.
Yeah, people say, no way, that's not Trump, whatever. Okay, well, people said that about Hitler too until he went off the fucking deep end. There's this, I haven't really followed it too much. I've been meaning to read up on it, this about the Russian, they had bounties on American soldiers that they were basically paying out to Afghani.
Oh, and we have just lost Dan. He seems to have disconnected.
Dan has been disappeared.
That's all right. Maybe one of those unmarked vans will come by and pick you up.
Pull me. Yeah, right.
One of the Portland vans.
So I'm real curious to see how that plays out. But I know there has been enough information that I've got some friends that are ex-military that have done a big 180 on Trump after they found out that the White House knew about it way before it became public. Again, I can't really speak on it because I haven't read up on it enough to form an opinion.
Here's the fucked up part about it. Now, if I have been correctly informed, that we're going to go back to dumb and proud. It is fairly well known amongst people who have worked in, around, and whatever of the White House. And things have come out in the Bolton book and various other books by people who have been in the Trump administration.
As opposed to books written by dogs.
Right. But what's been happening is Trump apparently just doesn't like information. He doesn't want anything that contradicts his worldview. And one of the things that has been common for presidents back as far as you can throw it in modern times, that there's a daily intelligence briefing where they let them know, here are the things that are going on around the world that are impacting us right now. And Trump came out and said, I haven't heard about any of this shit. Well, the reason why he hadn't heard about any of this shit is because he hasn't been attending his own fucking briefings.
Oh, wow.
They were in the White House briefs.
Yep.
They were in the White House briefs multiple times. And the reason why he didn't know about it is because he wasn't attending his own fucking briefings, because he wants to be dumb, proud, and work on some fucked up belief system that I have no idea where it stems from.
He's so proud of not attending those briefings too.
That's
like
really...
he said it multiple times. He's like, I don't even attend my briefings because I don't do a fucking liberal fucking lock her up.
A bunch of fucking liberals. That's where all this information comes from. Fucking
my
liberals.
whole cabinet is nothing but fucking liberals.
Fucking liberals.
I hired them. And then I hired him again.
Just to prove I could.
I've had 7 different fucking cabinets. I'm such a badass.
Well, so and if you stay ignorant, right, you don't have to be accountable. Well, I didn't know about that.
Well, if you're pro-military, and, you know, as a lot of Republicans are, they should be goddamn up in arms about this.
Well, and a lot of them are, like I said.
Their own president did not give a single fuck about the U.S. military, because things that he needs to know, but because he's the commander-in-chief of the United States military, is totally unaware of any facts relating to anything. And, you know, I know there's been a lot of things going on with the Russia investigation, and people like to get all up in arms about that. And while I don't necessarily think there was any direct correlation of, you know, that Putin calls up Trump and says, I want blah, blah, blah. But the consensus amongst people who have been in the intelligence community is, if you break it down to a game, that Putin is basically a master level chess player, and Trump plays checkers on Sunday. And so whether it doesn't have to be direct, you know, you've got enough people out there who are capable, where you turn around and put so many hours of footage in front of him. I mean, Jesus Christ, we have FBI profilers who go out and look at a crime scene and can tell you exactly how somebody's fucked up in the head. Now, with Trump, who loves to see himself in front of a camera because he came from being a reality television star and all of this other bullshit, loves to have himself on camera. All you've got to do is sit down and have a profiler. Okay, feed this guy this, and this.
Definitely.
And then tell him what you want, and you're going to fucking get it.
Well, Putin is, you know, he might be the devil, but he's fucking smart. I mean, he was KGB for a long time and was real good at what he did. And you're absolutely right. When people say, oh, no, there's no way that there's any collusion or whatever, you're out of your fucking mind if you don't believe that. I'm not saying that Trump did it nefariously. I think he did it because he's dumb. I don't think he understands that a guy like Putin is playing him. And just like you said, of course he would endorse him because he's a fucking moron, right? He's a fucking moron. And like you said, chess versus checkers. And you know what kills me is that when I say that, I can just hear all the fucking conservatives, like their ears come up and they go, well, you want Hillary in there? Is that what it is? You want Hillary, that traitor? No, that's not what I'm saying. Just because I don't like Trump doesn't mean that I support Hillary. Just because I don't support Trump doesn't mean I support Biden. It's this, and that's the illusion of the two-party system, right? You've created this if then or not either or statement, right?
Yeah.
If it's like in programming, if I don't go this way, I have to go that way, or everything crashes and people.
What you need is an if else, and then have a bunch of else's nested underneath.
There you go.
The basic problem is, with the exception of, you know, a few candidates here and there, over the course of the last 25 years or so, that when we get down to the two final people, it is not in any shape, form, or fashion the people that I would have chosen.
No.
There's been a few exceptions to that, but not many. And it comes down, and it seems like every time we're having to choose which sexually transmitted disease we're going to live with. And that seems to be the way it's come down. It's like I heard Bill Burr talk about it one time. He did a special right before the last presidential election, and he said, "This is like the first fucking week of American Idol. How did we wind up with these two people?"
Giant douche and turd sandwich from South Park
Yes.
back in the day,
and
it is true.
That's one of the major reasons why I think that the current way that we elect a president is fundamentally fucking wrong. It's like we start with primaries that if it's like, obviously we live in Colorado, so
Obviously.
I'm registered as unaffiliated. So every year I get Republican ballots and Democratic ballots. So I should say every year that we have an election. So, and I'm only allowed to turn one of those in. And what you get in the very beginning is people that have to go so far to the edges to try to bring some kind of voters in, because they're in a contest with, 6, 10, 12, 48 other people, how many ever you want to throw in there. And they go so far to the edge. And then the thing is that the edge will never win a general election. So then they have to turn around and come back towards the center to get the legions of people who don't automatically pull a straight Republican or a straight Democrat ticket. There's a lot of voters that you got to win in there. And most elections, as far as once you go nationally, locally, it can be a totally different thing. You can have fucking 70-30 landslides for one particular person. But most of the time, what makes the difference is 5% one way or the other. 5%, if it goes 55-45, there are a bunch of people that consider that, well, that's a mandate. We're going to take this platform that we've been running on, and that's just what the American people want. And it was, you're talking, we're 5-10 points. That's not that big of a swing.
Yeah.
So explain something to me, and either, not explain, but give me your opinion, both of you, on this, right? Because when I was, okay, well, fuck it. Bumper music out.
Moving forward.
This idea that, I love this, because I tend to vote libertarian, right? Partially because I agree with a lot of what they stand for. I do know the joke is that basically they're Republicans who like to smoke weed and own guns or something along those lines. But I think I'm like Adam said, I'm very much, the government's not here to protect me, right? I'm here to protect myself. You just help me do that. But there's this idea every time when someone finds out, like I said, the whole, if you're not voting for Trump, you must be voting for Hillary, et cetera. And I would explain, no, I vote libertarian. Republicans would always tell me, well, when you do that, that's a vote for the Democrats. And then the fun part is then if a Democrat tried to get me to vote, and I say, well, man, I actually vote third party, because I don't like either one of these. Well, you're just throwing your vote away. That's a vote for Trump. Well, okay, now wait a minute, because the Republican just told me if I vote third party that it's a vote for you. You're telling me if I vote third party that it's a vote for them.
It depends on who wins.
Yeah, right? I mean, that's who I didn't. Yeah, that's who I should have. That's who I threw my vote away for. What are your thoughts on that? Because I don't believe that. I don't. I believe that I vote for what I think is right. And I'm not going to vote for a turd just to keep another fucking turd out of office.
I think that's what I would call the Ross Perot effect. When you go back to the early 90s, obviously pre-92, Now, Ross Perot was a pretty intelligent guy, billionaire, bought his own spots, and he was saying a lot of very intelligent things with very intelligent arguments.
With the
And it
back scratcher.
all, yeah, with his voodoo stick back scratcher.
Perot was great. He was nuts, but yeah, like you said, man, he had some good fucking points that you could not argue.
Well, see, the thing is he was getting on TV and he was cutting through all the bullshit. Now, do I think he would have made the greatest president in history? Probably not, but he couldn't have done any worse than anybody else has.
Right.
But the thing is I encourage you, because Ross Perot died like 11 months ago. So they turned around, and if you look on YouTube, you can actually find several of his old half-hour spots that they've recorded. And this guy, he checked all the fucking boxes. He came with that CEO mentality of, this is our plan, this is our goal, this is how we're going to achieve long-term strategies. But if somebody else brings a better idea to the table on how to accomplish that, that's exactly what we're going to go with. He addressed the national deficit, spending, growing the economy, healthcare. And, he was talking about the cost of healthcare at the time. He was talking about, these figures may not be exactly right because I'm just pulling this out of memory from some stuff that I actually reviewed a couple of weeks ago. He was talking about how they were spending approximately $7,000 per person in a lot of other countries that were having better health outcomes than what we were. And he was wanting to address the cost of that because we were spending at the time approximately $12,000. Now, I don't know where he got those from. I don't know if they were accurate. Those were the figures he quoted.
And that was 92. That
right,
was 8 years ago, almost 30 years ago now. And that was being addressed then, right? And 30 years later, we still have not made any headway, because if you're a conservative and someone starts talking about national healthcare, which I have my issues with national healthcare just because I find that any government run program tends to be a horrible failure, but it's because of all the politics and bureaucracy, right? If you did run it a little more like a company, if you said, hey, your department, you're in charge of welfare and all you're doing is bleeding out cash, you're not getting people off of welfare, you're not improving these people, you're fired, you're out, you're done. We're going to get somebody else in here that can do the job. But with elected officials and with just again it's Biden. Biden's going on this whole thing with we need change. Motherfucker, you've been in politics like 1974, I think it is. Explain how you're changing anything. I don't like career politicians because your main goal at that point is not making the world a better place. It's about keeping your fucking pockets lined. It's about keeping your
maintain the status quo.
Exactly.
At this point, I'll take a dyed in the wool politician any day.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Right now, I would take that.
If my choice is between a roulette wheel crapshoot combo on what the fuck are we going to get with this stuff, and
I was not a huge Obama fan either. I thought his policies, he went a little too far, on the liberal side for me, and started kind of fucking with my paycheck and whatnot. But one thing that I did respect about him was that he did have the air of a national leader, right? When he spoke intelligently. He knew how to stay right in the middle and not go too far in either direction, regardless of what he thought. He understood that you can't let the rest of the world see us. I can't even imagine what the rest of the world sees when they see Trump as our president. And, they say you get the president you deserve. And that's, again, I think why conservatives, the nutty conservatives like him, I don't want to lump all conservatives in there, but the nutty conservatives, I think, is that it's because he says and does the things that they think and that they want to do, right? They want to rail against minorities and they want to rail against poor people and other countries and America. Personally, this year, I am going to endorse Dwayne Elizondo, Mountain Dew, Herbert Camacho as our president. That's Dwayne Elizondo, Mountain Dew, Herbert Camacho. Look him up.
I'm gonna write him in.
I cannot imagine that a lot of people will not this year, right?
There's Mountain Dew in there somewhere.
Yes, Dwayne Elizondo, Mountain Dew, Herbert Camacho. And the funny thing about that,
he's running on is that plants crave Brondo.
Yeah, that Brondo has what plants crave. It's got electrolytes, and it's funny to watch that movie and laugh at it, right? But if you distill down all of the fucking stupid in the world right now, that movie was oddly prophetic, and that kills me.
And proud.
Dumb and proud. We may have found a new title, guys. Dumb and proud. What are we at? Episode 12-ish? Is that about 12?
This is the 8th remote one. Let me check real quick.
Yeah, this will be episode 12 because the last one,
the Karen episode.
The Karen episode, that was 11.
Yeah, you guys did that. So, we had discussed that we may consider having some guests on. We've been a 3-piece for a while, and wouldn't mind getting that energy of a fourth person back. So we have discussed the idea of having some guests on. About all you need is a computer and a decent internet connection. So keep an eye out for that. We may start posting something, getting the word out there, and seeing what sort of shenanigans the three of us can get into with a fourth person. I don't know why anyone would voluntarily walk into that, but I know there's a few of you out there that are just.
It'd be fun. We'd piss them off and they never come back.
You never know,
Yeah.
I mean, you just never know, but I think it would be interesting and fun to see where we go with it.
If anyone wants to be a guest, just be prepared no matter what you say for me to reply with, yeah, what do you mean by that?
Explain.
What is that supposed to mean?
And then you got to do the contemplative look. So I'm running on, you don't need much. Like I said, I'm running on an old laptop because I destroyed my gaming machine last night. And I'm super.
It was a fit of rage. Someone headshotted him on Call of Duty. And they came around the corner. And he picked the case up. I saw it on webcam. He picked the case up and shattered it off the floor and barely missed his dog.
Hey, now,
and then
all fun and games until you bring the dog into it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're like not human services, but you're going to have the FPCA up my ass. So, no, that's not what happened. I was swapping out my cooling system, had a few margaritas, which kind of made me lose my softer touch when replacing the CPU. And I bent the shit out of all the pins and fucked up the LGA grid on the processor, and neither one of them were cheap. So I'm a little irritated, and I'm debating because as Doug and I were talking, the price of components right now are up about 40%, give or take. Because
they're elevated now. CPUs remarkably have stayed in their same basic price range, barring any shortages of a particular CPU, because that always makes shit go up.
Yeah.
But the major components like the power supply, the motherboard, a lot of those factories were shut down so long due to COVID, so there was no production output. So, that whole supply-demand thing,
if you print more money, it becomes more valuable. If you have less computer components, they become more expensive.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if you look at you take a look at a decent 750 watt power supply, which I'm sure so many people give a fuck about right now, other than the three of us. Last year, it would have run, a real nice one would have run you about somewhere between $80 and $100. Well, you go look at that same power supply now, and you'll be lucky if you find it for $175.
Isn't that something?
Yeah, and it's more specific with certain components like power supplies, motherboards are affected, but those are the two major things. But, you can't run a fucking computer without a power supply and a goddamn motherboard.
Yeah, the motherboards didn't seem too bad, the ones I was looking at. I'm, again, doing gaming and a lot of like photography and audio and video processing and stuff. I do try to keep relatively high-end gear, not the highest end, because I like to eat and pay bills too. you're right. The processors seem to be about the same they had been, and of course, in 4 or 5 months, you'll start to see a drop in price as new stuff comes out. But honestly, I don't know if I want to bank on that. Typically, I would, but there's no telling what is going to happen with that. You know. Sorry, I was reading some nonsense that Adam put in our chat. So we chat, and actually we keep video open as well, so that we like to. You would think that it would be so that we could communicate better, but it's really just so we can taunt the fuck out of each other when we're trying to talk and make a point about something.
Well, I was just stating that most of the things that spiked in price are imported precious metals from regions where people totally get paid a fair wage to mine.
There's that sarcasm. You think that so? And I don't know. Are those areas? Is it the same thing? Are we not getting? I mean, I think we all know the America benefits from slave labor. All right, and anyone who doesn't believe that, you've got you've got your head in the sand, right? Countries like your countries like Africa and China and things like that. We may not do it specifically, but they are basically, China is one of them. They don't treat their people very well. They have, homes, apartments that are the size of a small office cube, where they live and they work. You remember Foxconn a few years ago had to install suicide nets. Now that really kind of fizzled as far as a news story goes, right? Foxconn, Apple has been producing their iPhones and stuff with Foxconn for a long time. I want you to stop and think about that for a second. Like, seriously, think about that. They had to install suicide nets. They had to put nets on the top of their buildings to keep workers from saying, fuck this, I would rather be dead than live like this. Now,
But that's clearly the fix.
Do what?
Like if people, that's clearly the fix. Like if people are so upset they want to kill themselves, just install nets.
Yeah, you put nets. You don't change anything. You don't change the way you're doing things. And people say, well, you're always going to have crazy people that want to kill themselves. But so many in the same factory that you decided to spend the money, time, energy, and PR to put up fucking nets to keep it from happening. I want people to think about that, right? Why are people like that? Because no one wants to live like that. That's why. So I guess my point is don't hate the fucking Chinese people. Every time you see somebody that's Asian, first of all, not all Asians are Chinese. If you see somebody that's Asian, don't hate them, and don't hate someone because they're from China. Because that's just as bad as people hating us because we're from the United States, right? Maybe they don't like the things we do. I mean, you've got a whole war in the Middle East that's kind of based on that. They don't like the West. They don't like the United States. And if any of us walked over there, we're all about as white as fucking hotel bed sheets. We could very easily be murdered just for being that, right?
But the bed sheets were black when I started.
Wait, what?
Jesus Christ, Adam.
Oh, God damn it. Well, this is a good little. That was a callback to the first 5 minutes of our conversation, wasn't it? You kinky fucker.
Why is this sheet solid? I don't understand.
And clack, clack, clack. Oh, what is that? That's my.
Sheet's
crunchy.
When we tried to wash it.
Gross.
Jesus Christ, that's disgusting. Mark.
And on that, that's where we wrap it.
Hey, let's. Adam needs to stretch his legs a little bit here because I don't think we hear enough from Adam on podcasts. Now, Adam was telling me something recently about something called randonauting, which I kind of get the concept of, but there seem to be some weird theories wrapped around, like you're supposed to use this app and have certain intentions in your mind while this app picks a random location for you to go to. So, Adam, take it away. Tell us all about this randonauting shit.
All right, look, here's how it works. Because I really researched the shit out of it because it seems like magic, which sounds like bullshit. But they don't know how it works, but they found a correlation that when you create a random set of numbers with a regular computer, they're actually random. And then when you create a random set of numbers with a quantum computer, apparently outside things can affect the generation of the RNG. So what you're supposed to do is think of something or have an intention and then generate these random numbers, and it sends it to their central quantum computer, and then it sends you coordinates back. All it does is you set a radius around where you are on the app, and it generates literally random coordinates around you. It generates like thousands of them, and wherever they cluster up abnormally, which is not like general distribution, it'll put a marker there because that's an abnormal collection of randomly generated points. And people have been finding really strange shit at the locations that they go to when they do dumb shit like, my intention is death. Some kids, I think in Oregon or Washington State, found a dead body in a suitcase when they were nodding. Which Doug made a good point. When you just go poking around in random spots, you tend to find weird shit. And I believe it's a little bit of a confirmation bias where if you don't find anything, you don't
talk about it, right? If you had millions of people out there randonauting and not finding anything,
that would be strange.
Then you don't think about it. But then the one out of a million people that find something fucking creepy, like a dead body in a suitcase.
Every report that you see is someone finding something weird.
Fair enough, yeah.
You don't write an article about, I went randonauting and fucking nothing happened.
And found dead.
Breaking news. Click my fucking link to read more.
So is the theory basically that you said that you send them the random numbers, so you just think of something and type out on your 10 key?
If you just think of it, it's supposed to work because it can apparently adjust based on intentions, but you can type it in too, from what I understand.
Well, because it would be interesting. Like I could see the concept of if I'm thinking of something and I type in numbers and I send it to this quantum computer and it sends me to something and I find something that's of interest to me. The idea that the brain is somehow doing almost like a Morse code type thing in those numbers, that subconsciously you associate numbers with things, with whatever. The layers that I'm talking about here in the human mind are unfathomable, right?
Yeah.
But this quantum computer takes those numbers, and after everything else that's been inputted, it goes, oh, that string of numbers, this dude likes whatever, and et cetera, et cetera. I think the concept of it, I'm not going to say no, right? There have been too many things that people have called bullshit on for many, many years. And then 20, 50, 100 years later, we prove that, earlier you were talking about how they believe narcolepsy now is an autoimmune disease, right?
Yeah.
No one would have ever considered that. And it's like, I've dealt with anxiety and depression since I was about 19, probably sooner, but I was diagnosed at 19. And I've been on all kinds of fucking drugs trying to level me out, and they never really work. And anytime you read the literature on these drugs, it always says it is believed that this works on the blah, 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 right? So the idea, my point of that is that 50 years from now, 100 years from now, we might dial in and find out exactly what metabolic reason causes depression or anxiety. Because again, we go back to science, and that's just kind of how science works, right? So the idea that this quantum computer is somehow translating that I'm not going to say it's not possible. Things seem hokey, but people used to worship the sun and fucking, blood sacrifices and thought that was perfectly normal. So,
the thing is, they don't know exactly how it works. So they can't say like, he wants this, go here. It's more like you give it your intentions and then it generates thousands of points and then just finds where it abnormally attracts points to.
Interesting.
And then sends you there.
Is that available? I thought I read somewhere that the app is only available like in Australia or somewhere like that. Maybe I misunderstood.
It was at first. Now it's open to everybody, and the web version is open to everybody too.
Well, God damn it! Now I'm going to have to go. I'm not even going to lie. I'm going to check
today.
that out.
Let's go.
This is where I get to play devil's advocate. If you tell people, and it's hard for the human mind to fully embrace the concept of randomness.
Right.
People will inherently try to make order in randomness.
Yeah, it's like seeing a face in a bathroom wall, linoleum pattern or something. The brain wants to make sense of things.
Well, I can boil it down to one word that's been used so many times that it's not even funny. People talk about streaks. Statistically, there's if you have we'll take something as simple as a roulette table. You've got red squares, you've got black squares, and you've got a couple of green squares on there. Uh, but if you take a look at it, and you look at the course of 1,000 rolls, you're going to have various places where you get, one particular result a dozen times in a row, 20 times in a row, what have you. And
Right.
people will say it was a streak. Well, the very nature of randomness sort of negates that. And I think that, as far as like if the way you're describing it, because, you've obviously, you did a lot of research on this one. If you generate truly random coordinates inside of a defined area, you're going to wind up with what, in classic gambling terms or sports or what have you, would be referred to as a streak. Okay, a bunch of points popped up over here. Let's go check and see what's going on with this weird streak that popped up.
Right. Yeah. Just the nature of randomness, you almost have to have a streak somewhere, or
Right.
else it's not really random.
Right.
I would
If
agree with
there, if there are no streaks, somebody is fucking manipulating the result.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. There just seemed to be a lot of significance to like where these things were clustering up that seemed really strange.
Yeah.
But it could be coincidence, which coincidences would happen a lot when you run a fucking RNG 10,000 times.
Yeah, not everybody might not know what an RNG is, so you may want to just throw that out there.
RNG, random number generator. If you don't know what it is, fucking turn this podcast off, guys. Come on. Come on. I'm just kidding.
I was just kidding. Please don't. Please
listen.
I feel like
random number generator is just how they generate randomness in most applications.
Entropy.
Got him. Good one, Dan.
Got him.
I might actually go do that today. So
yeah, it's kind of interesting. I got a couple of things to do today, but I might play around with it this evening and see, because I was planning on getting out on the bike this weekend. I might see, I might see where it takes me, So
do it. You won't.
I'm going
you won't.
that. I'm telling you right now.
Here's the thing. So I understand, it's probably horseshit, but it's one quantum computer that's doing everything. So if there are a couple people using it and the intentions actually do affect the outcome, it's possible you could, end up with someone else's intention adjusting your results.
Got a little Hannibal Lecter / Minority Report thing going on here, man. It's kind of creepy. But again, people said that the Earth being round and orbiting the sun was bullshit quite some time ago. So I don't call
I think
anything
is so new that we can't really know for sure.
Not right now. I mean, give it time, and I think things like that will play themselves out, and eventually you get to an answer. But I think, like I said, I think it's impossible to just say something is not possible or that something is impossible until you've let it play out a while. Unless you start talking about the Earth being flat, like Adam said, look, we thought the flat earthers were funny, so we let them go, and now look what's happened.
Now everybody's dying.
Yeah, we got science deniers all over the fucking place.
Hey, well, I've got popcorn.
I got popcorn.
I've got popcorn. I am waiting for the fucking show to start because here's my prediction. A lot of the same people that you have now that are talking, conspiracy theories with COVID-19, the whole pandemic thing, the whole you can't tell me that I have to wear a mask. These same people approximately 6-8 months from now, when we may have uh, the beginnings of a workable vaccine that they're going to have to turn around and put into mass production and then figure out mass deployment, when you've got these same people who are dumb and proud, who they're not going to take the vaccine, they're not going to wear masks, they're going to constantly put themselves in the public eye because that's where a lot of them crave to be. I am going to sit back with my popcorn and laugh my ass off as stupidity tries to wipe itself out. I love to watch fail videos where somebody's trying to do some dumb shit. And this is going to be a real-time life or death version of a fucking fail video. And I'm going to sit back with my popcorn and I'm going to giggle my ass off when some of these people start dropping like flies.
Well, I have every intentions of getting the vaccine. When people are, vaccines don't work, I ask them when the last time one of their family members died of polio, and then you get to talk about herd immunity. We've, again, as we spoke earlier, they're finding that human beings alone their bodies are not producing antibodies in a way that would create herd immunity. Two, herd immunity means a lot of people have to die, right? We could have let polio rock herd immunity eventually too, but you don't do that because it's kind of a dick move. I don't know that I'll get it right away. One, because I just don't like standing in lines for things.
Well, if it's going to inconvenience you, damn.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Die.
Yeah, just fucking, I don't want to be inconvenienced. Fuck you, Adam, okay? That was a valid point that actually got in a little bit, so fuck you. Fuck you. That's how I roll. Point Adam.
There
right?
we go.
Plus, I want to see how these nanochips work that Bill Gates is putting into the serum. I want to make sure that I don't want to wait till like Bluetooth fucking 5.0 comes out for the nanochips or whatever. So, I want the latest and greatest technology. Right?
Alex Jones, we're going to turn the freaking frogs gay. Is that what we're doing?
With colloidal silver. I'm pretty sure that's how that works.
With colloidal silver?
I've always liked silver and I don't mind frogs. So I'm gay. That's just how that works. So. Which is cool. I know. I've always kind of wanted to be fabulous anyway. So here we are.
Well, I'm all out. Anybody else got any more bullshit they want to lay out on the table?
My sheets are stiff.
I have blown my entire load.
My sheets are stiff.
On the white, stiff sheets.
That's going to be my new saying when I'm done with anything. Be like, all right, well, my sheets are stiff. I'm out of here. So.
Jesus Christ.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been real. I apologize that you have nothing better to do than sit and listen to the three of us be fucking stupid.
And thank you for listening, by the way.
And thank you for listening.
Thank everybody for listening.
Thank Adam's mom and the one other person that randomly clicked on this link.